Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I am back. I have a, I don't know if you'd call this a rant, an informative video, what you would necessarily call this. Uh, but this is describing my experience trying to set certain system. I was going to kind of leave it for a big surprise. However, I have been advised go ahead and just for posterity and documentation sake. Um, so here is what I've been dealing with, and some of you know I'm actually going through this because I've talked about it with you. Hell, but here's what I'm trying to do, and the roadblocks slash extra challenges that have come with it. I am sick and tired of streaming services and not just streaming services, but um how do I put the way that they are behaving towards their one of my biggest pet peeves was um creating a playlist and suddenly finding half of that playlist to be removed from my library because of copyright issues. Okay, you may have copyright issues, but I still downloaded the music or added the music to my list. It is my playlist. If you're having issues, that should not affect my music. You know what I'm saying? But the issue is, it is not just um streaming services. It is the you will own nothing and you happy proud. I don't like that. I think that's unfair to the consumer that is spending their hard earned money on your stuff. And thankfully, Steam is one of the few digital distributors that will work with you and refund you, do all kinds of things for you so that you're not um, out your money if something bad happens. They will give you like gift cards or refunds or things of that nature. Other distributors, you're not so lucky. Um, Part of the reason I am now a member of the PC Master Race, not sponsored at all. um, um, but here is something that I have found that will allow me to negate it and some of the problems I keep having because of things are um problem one, constant growing list of parts. Okay, so far I have found that I needed a Raspberry Pi 5, which I have here. I've got it in my hand in the heatsink case that I got for it, which I was also told I would need. Okay, I was also told I would need a cooling fan, which I just found out about that today. Basically are required to have a cooling fan, and this heat sink needs to be set up a very particular way. Another thing that you're required to do, which I didn't realize, was you have to put on your own power button. In other words, turn it on and off. You have to install the button, turn it on and off. Okay, here's the deal I have with that. I understand um that that's going to be a thing. That's something that a lot of people like to do. Here's my issue with it. Okay, I want a kit like this for absolute beginners. Absolute beginners. I mean, a Raspberry Pi that you just click together, no welding, no soldering, no hey, put this in the absolute right way. You know what I mean? Because here's the deal. Here's what a lot of people don't understand. There are a lot of people getting into this that know absolutely nothing about anything to do with extra, like, bits and bobs that you have to do for a computer. Okay? They're learning this for the absolute first time. Absolute first time. So it would be really nice if we had a kit that you just put together in same way you would like building blocks or Legos, and you put some special electrical glue, or you put it together with screws done with an Allen wrench. Um, and there's some bits and pieces that are that way. Um, you can easily click it together with some of the things they have on the market, but you have to know what to buy. You have to know what you're getting into. And there's a lot of people, they just don't know. Yes, there are beginner classes for computing and there are YouTube videos, but you know what? Here's what I found with some of these YouTube videos. These YouTube videos, they don't treat you like an absolute beginner most of the time. Uh, they're aesthetically pleasing, and I've seen like some that go through, and if you're paying attention, you can grasp a hold of it relatively quickly. But very few of them talk to you about what they're trying to do. Um, and maybe you guys have experienced this sort of thing with the Raspberry Pi or tech or just something in general that you were trying to learn. A, a lot of YouTube videos at about everything, and it didn't used to be this way, um, because they used to treat you like a beginner. Because I used to access YouTube all the time and learn stuff, but now they're just treating everybody like they know already what they're supposed to be doing, and I don't necessarily like that. The second problem that I'm having is um installing Linux in general, along with some of these parts being kind of scattered about, and I need to find it, and all of this mess. Um, I have also started trying to do a partition on my computer for Linux. I forget the name of the version that we. Let me check it. Um, it's not Ubuntu. It's something like it. Ubuntu with a K. So you just add a K to Ubuntu, and that's what we have. And that's pretty much what we've got right now. Um, for that, and I just kind of have an issue with the way that we're sort of doing things with, like, I just don't like treating everybody like an expert when it comes to learn. I had a teacher that was that way in accounting when I still went to college, and this person was how do I put this properly? Um she wasn't great at teaching. She was great at her job of accounting. She was one of those big 401k company heads um that was like big in finance, but she treated everybody like, oh, come on, guys, you should know this. And she would use big words and big terminology, and she would at the end say, do you have any questions? And I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, yeah, I have 2 tons of them, but you don't have time to get to them all, so I'm just gonna try and suffer it out on my own. And most of her pupils ended up failing her class or barely passing because she didn't know how to teach. And that's the thing with a lot of these people that upload to YouTube now, especially since they introduced the partner program. Um, a lot of them uh, don't really know how to people to use some of this stuff. And I don't mean to insult them. They may know how to use it accurately and use it very well, but a lot of them don't know how to teach people to use it. I am a complete noob, and I will tell you I am a complete. But I'm not going to try to teach you until I know a little bit. Um, because I literally don't know. My thing that I want to do is maybe eventually, as part of the channel, I might teach little bits and bobs of Linux and how Linux commands work. That might be fun to do for the basic things. Um, Let me know if that's something you want to see down below. But I'm just kind of, I don't want to say fed up because I'm still gonna do this. Still gonna try my absolute hardest to get things done. But I'm also frustrated with the fact that everything's got to be complicated. I am one of those people. I try to live by the KISS method. You know what the KISS method is, right? Everybody knows what the KISS method is. Everybody say it with me. Keep it simple, stupid. You know, that's how I live my life. I don't like when things get super complicated because when things get super complicated, everybody tries to jump through hoops to get things done. It's like my opinion on free speech. Someone has an opinion, they want to share it, let them talk. They want to they want to expose their silly opinions. Some of them are silly. Some of mine are silly. Okay, I fully admit that. Um, some people believe in aliens. I don't. I believe humans disguise themselves as aliens to trick us. I do not believe that there is any extraterrestrial life out there. That's my opinion. You can have a different opinion if you want. That's my opinion. You know, um, if you want to criticize me for that, guess what? You're welcome to do so. That's part of life. Um, that's a prime example. But outside of Windows, I have not really tried any other operating systems. Mac may be slightly better, but I've tried Linux on several occasions. I will probably still be trying to use it because it's the only other option um other than Windows and Mac, and I really don't like it. So um I don't like when people gatekeep. You know what I'm saying? And of course, there's always Temple OS, but that's a joke. That's an absolute joke. You guys, I will not be using Temple OS. um, but um, that's the options. There's Temple OS. There's Linux. There is Windows, and there is Mac. The problem with Linux is number one, it's super uber complicated. Number two, it is what do I put? I want to put this in such a way that um right properly. Um it is so many different shells that operate in the same way, and it can be very complicated to talk about, if that makes any sense. Um right now, um there are, let's look at how many um there's got to be a few hundred. Um and that's not, you know what? Let me look it up real quick. 600 active Linux distributions currently in use. Some actually, some numbers actually suggest that when you include niche projects or inactive projects, it can be over 1,000. And what Linux is, for those that do not know, it's an open source software, completely open source, and anybody can use it. Anybody can experience Linux, and they can do pretty much anything they wish. And there's basically a lot of people experimenting with it. It's meant to. Uh, the issue is there are so many. It's hard to find which one is right for you. I've experimented with Linux Mint. I've experienced. Um, I think I've done Ubuntu. Um, I've also done one or two others that I can't recall right now. I'm not sure if I played with Arch at all or what. Um, but the point is, there's so many. It's hard to find what's good for. And even if you find it, you can actually change it up a little bit and make your own distro and do your own thing. That's where this really gets complicated because I have actually no idea how to do some of the things I can do on because I'm basic. I'm absolutely basic. So I will ask. Actually, you know what? Let me ask this question that I've got.
One more thing, you're getting.
Hello.
But
Hey, look who it is.
Yes. For those that don't know, you're actually on video at the moment. Say hi to YouTube.
Hi to YouTube.
what's up, my?
Uh, I have no idea what he was going to say, but I better not. He better not say what I think he's going to say.
Is he speaking Latin again?
No.
Yeah.
He's not?
It's an accent.
An accent.
Yes. You recall when I'm recording I speak with an accent. Yes.
No, I thought you thought he was going to speak Latin.
Oh, you thought I thought he was going to speak in Latin?
Yeah.
No, I thought he was going to say a 4-letter word. That really should not be said on YouTube.
It's 6 letters, 5 to 6 letters. What the hell you mean?
And it's Latin.
Technically, it is Latin in origin, but it's still not one that needs to
It's
be
a Latin. It's a medical term. It is a Latin word.
Fair point.
People used it to sound sophisticated and educated.
Fair point.
They want to sound like a doctor.
I have a question. We were talking about this, but the answer wasn't quite clear. And I'm gonna go ahead and mute for the time. Because he's watching TV. I'm sorry. I'm gonna mute the man.
You're muting the man.
Yes, because he's watching
Okay.
TV. And I didn't want our.
Oh, that's crazy.
So let me ask you this.
Uh-huh.
I'm making a video kind of on the basics of Linux and what the problems that I've experienced are.
Uh-huh.
And I needed to ask you to clarify because I was unsure what you were saying. If I actually did that on boot alongside, if I actually did not do that boot alongside option, could it completely wipe out my Windows operating system?
I don't know what he's talking about. Boot alongside also?
Yes. When I tried to install the Linux distro that I tried to install, it gave me the option of using the entire area or
What area?
the entire drive.
And what drive was that?
I don't know. That's the problem.
You don't know which drive?
It was
Well,
like
that's
there
what
was
you gotta know.
Well,
If you wipe out your other drive with the new information, yeah, it would wipe out the other drive, which has Windows. But if you want to make sure, you could just turn the other drive off in BIOS and then turn it back on because it's an M.2. It's hard to just unplug it. But if you paid attention to the size of the other drive, and it has 3 partitions to it for Windows, and its backups and everything else it does, then you would, and if you looked at the total size of the drive versus the total size of the drive you're trying to install it to, you notice there is micro differences. I mean, it is a 2 terabyte or a 1 terabyte, but they're not exactly the same sizes. Different manufacturers have a little bit bigger, a little smaller, but then they've got the names of the drives.
Right.
So one is a SATA SSD, and the other is an M.2. That's the biggest difference.
So the M.2 is the one I'm trying to.
Not destroy. That's the one with Windows on it. Right?
Right. So the SSD is the one that we want to do the extra.
Well, you know what the difference between an M.2 and a SATA is, right?
No.
Well, they're both SSDs. One plugs in with the SATA. It looks like a mechanical hard drive, but it's actually a SATA drive.
You're speaking Greek to me right now.
They're both SSDs.
Yes, I know they're both SSDs, but you're speaking Greek to me in terms of what it plugs in with. I don't understand.
Freaking my teammate sucks. Bro. That's one of the worst teammates ever.
Do you put diesel in your gas engine or gas
No.
in your diesel engine?
No.
That's the difference. There's a difference. It's not SSD that's the difference. Both of them are SSD. One's very, very fast, and one's as fast as it can be.
Okay.
The M.2 is the fastest transfer rate right now. SATA only does, at its best, 600 a second.
Sucks. Doo-doo one.
You know, we went over this, and I sent him what's the speeds of Ethernet, what's the speeds of SATA, what's the speeds of M.2, what's the speeds of USB. An M.2 looks like a stick of memory that plugs in from the small end, unlike RAM that plugs in from the long side. A SATA has a little cable that plugs in and then a power cable that plugs in.
Okay.
Is Brian gonna come over?
I haven't got a message from him yet.
Anyway, I'll let you go. I'm just trying to understand, and I'm also trying to help people understand where my problem.
Your problem is you're having a hard time doing a dual boot on dual drives.
Yep.
So, and it's hard to unplug an M.2 drive to make sure the only drive you can install it to is the secondary drive. But if you look at the drive names in the BIOS, it should show you. If you write down the drive sizes, you should know that you're installing it to the drive you want to install it to. And if you go to your BIOS and just turn off the M.2 drive, then it would be just like unplugging it. Although you'd have to learn how to plug it back in, turn it back on. So search for a video how to disable your M.2 drive in BIOS, and then you wouldn't have to worry about it accidentally installing it to that one. And then once it's installed, you just have to do the dual boot. Have it auto default to your Windows for now, and if you want to boot to the other one, you hit F11. choose to boot from the other.
Bro, we can't even talk. Bro.
All right. I'll have to look into that.
Yep.
Anyway, I'll let you go for now.
Yeah.
So guys, inadvertently it looks like we have our next step. But I'm not gonna do any of that today. Maybe later tonight I'll give it a try. I'll let you know how it works out when I do. I might actually do a brief update. So I wish you guys a good day, and I will be back maybe later today to do a little bit of a new game that I kind of got on sale. And by on sale, I mean I got it for a steal for about $1. But let me know if you want to hear more about my upgrade escapade, and make sure that we can all laugh together at what a noob I am at some of this other stuff. I'm just gonna call this series Adventures in Computing, I guess, maybe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.